I'm Mick, and this is Sally. Together we've been caravanning Australia since the 1980s, and more recently we started to put the videos together just to show you some of what we see out there. There's a lot to see in Australia, and we hope you enjoy what we have here to show you. You can follow us on our trips via the following social media platforms. If you like the following video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. This trip had us leaving our home here in Adelaide and heading up through the Adelaide Hills as we made our way across to Victoria. We weren't sure how far we were going to get today and where we were going to stop tonight, but we had Tintinara in the back of our mind as a destination if we could get that far before I felt too tired behind the wheel. Yeah, good day everyone. It's Saturday afternoon and we had the car and the caravan all packed, so as soon as I got home from work from Darwin today, it was in the car, and we're currently at Tintinara and we're on our way down to a private property the other side of Edenhope in Victoria, and that belongs to Debbie and her hubby Paul, so Debbie being my younger sister, so we're going to spend a few nights down there before we go back to Berri and the Riverland in South Australia. So here for one night and pushing on tomorrow morning. Well, we made it as far as what we wanted to get to, so yep, we're at Tintinara and we're staying at Lake Indoora, and if I pronounce that wrong I'm sure someone will let me know, but it is a free camp with a small donation, but unfortunately we went to put a donation into the donation box there by the toilet as indicated by the signs, and the padlock's missing from the bottom of the donation box, so if you were to put any gold coins in the box they'd fall straight out onto the ground. So it's a great little camp spot, so they need to do something with it because they do deserve some sort of donation to help maintain the facilities that they've got here. The lake alongside the campground was almost full, I think, and certainly very picturesque when the sun came out. We only stayed the one night at Tintinara, and the following morning when we left we went all the way down through to Keith, where we left the main highway and turned down towards Narracourt as we made our way into Victoria that way. It was a foggy start to the road on the way down there, but once the sun had cleared it was certainly a very nice day to be out driving. We actually ran out of gas and one 9 kilo gas bottle, so after getting an exchange at Narracourt we were soon over the state border and making our way into Victoria. It was on the eastern side of Edenhope where we did a left-hand turn and went onto the dirt road here, and that took us out to the property that we actually were going over there to spend 4 nights on. It was only a short drive on the dirt road before we got to the property, but the road was certainly in good condition. Water on the side of the road here, but that didn't cause us any issues at all. Although we followed Deb in from the bitumen, she was there at the property gate to greet us as we drove through. After a short drive through the property to the established buildings, it was time to set up and sit back and relax. Hey, g'day everyone, and we're here at Yallakar, here for 4 nights, and private property that Debbie and Paul, Debbie being my youngest sister, owns. And we'll have a bit of a look around while we're here, so hopefully we'll get some nice weather that we can do a few walks. For the type of country that Sally and I are used to, this was so different. Lush green paddocks, water everywhere, nice trees, just so different to what we used to back in South Australia. Debbie and Paul do fertilise the ground down there, and that's some of the reason why it's so lush and green. And if you look at the boundary fence here, you'll see where the grey grass is after the boundary fence, and that's no fertilising. As the drone pans around on the water here, you can see a little tin building shed kennel type thing there. That's on this little island that you see there now, and there's a couple of geese sitting on eggs there, so it won't be long there'll be some baby geese running around. It was a bit undecided what the weather was going to do, but in between the real dark clouds and a bit of blue sky, we went for a walk. And it really is nice to walk in amongst all this green grass, and the cattle weren't too scared of us, but if the sheep saw us coming, they soon hightailed it and got away from us as quick as what they could. But a lot of water on the ground, so you had to be very careful where you were walking, otherwise you'd go above your ankles in muddy water. And I guess it's like any property that's got a lot of timber growing on it, like the trees here. There's a lot of fallen timber, so they're certainly not going to run out of firewood. Plenty of that to be picked up from the ground and cut up and burnt. With all this green grass and water laying around, I reckon when I come back in my second life, I'm going to be a cow. It just must be a cow's paradise to a certain degree down here. Just walk around, feed, drink, do whatever you want, have a sleep. What a life. You know, Australia is only a small island continent, and it still takes a bit for me to get my head around that I can leave Darwin one day and a few days later I can be walking or driving around in a country like this with so much grass and water. After coming through the deserts in the middle of Australia, it really takes a bit to get your mind around. Whilst we're walking around, we found the odd mushroom, and this one here wasn't too bad either, so peeled it and ate it raw. Oh, very nice. while we're down there, we were told that this is a normal year as far as water goes, so it'd be very interesting to see what the place looks like if they had a wet year. Certainly enough water down there now to think that it was a wet one as it was. In the very far distance there, you'll see a lot of trees and scrubland where it's not green. That's actually the Yallakar State Forest area. After our afternoon walk, we thought we'd get the fire going and get a bit of warmth there as the night air was coming in. The wood was dry, or there'd been a little bit of rain I suppose, so it wasn't 100% dry, but it was dry, but at times it took a bit to get it going, so you get the old 12 volt blower out and give it a bit of wind, and soon gets the flames going. It was nice to be able to sit around the fire as a family group, share a glass of wine and just talk about history, and nothing there to worry you. As time went on, we thought we were really going to get this fire going, and we thought we had it started to the point where it was going to burn okay, and then the rain came. The rain came and the rain went, and then we had this sunset, and that was followed by a very nice sunrise the following morning. It was now Monday morning, and we thought we'd go for another walk, only this time we headed in a different direction to have a look at something different, and as before, plenty of water laying around. We stopped and watched this bull, and you can see he's got his legs down in a hole, and that's where he digs out sand to throw up over his body to make himself a real bull. I would have no idea how deep these little surface water holdings are. I'd normally call them a dam. I didn't even think to ask Paul when we were down there, but they're all full. All the catchment channels here, like this one here, all full, running into them, and certainly no fear of running out of water at the moment, that's for sure, but a lot of them were scattered around the place, so yeah, lots of water. When Paul flies down to check the property with his plane, this is the area there that he uses to land the plane on, with the tyre markers on the ground. paddock that we're walking in now I would imagine would have been the highest of the grass, but you can see here very, very high grass. It was that high that it was getting heavy and falling over. One of many other water catchment areas, little dam. Debbie tells us that we certainly picked the best time of the year to go down and have a look, particularly for the first viewing of the area, with it so green and all the water catchment areas full of water. But it still makes you want to go back and have a look, perhaps not so much when it's at its worst, but when it's at its dry season. So as we fly around the boundary here, it's green from one end to the other, and it would be nice to see what it's like in the period when the grass goes off and there's no green, just to do a comparison. Of course, with it being so wet, you've got to be very careful, I guess, when you go out to check your livestock. Obviously something you wouldn't want to do on foot all the time, but you can't take a motor vehicle, so yeah, there is motorbikes and so on down there that they do use to check livestock. Getting to the later part of the afternoon again, so time to stoke up the fire again. I learned a little bit this time. If the wood was cut a little bit shorter instead of trying to burn longer bits, it was much easier to get going, and so that's what we did. We just whacked up a few short pieces with the rechargeable chainsaw, and hoe and hose, we were set for the night. While the fire was building, Debbie and I were having a look at some of the drone shots on the computer, but a bit of sun glare, so it made it very hard to see it in its reality. Time for another walk, so this time I thought I'd go down and have a look at the shearing shed. There is an old shearing shed there which Paul's maintaining and trying to make sure it doesn't fall down so he can use it as a shed to keep the sheep dry in the wet. But the old one is near the new one here, and with the yards at the back, and they can also use it as well as sheep. They can use it as a cattle to work the cattle. The main shearing shed is we're inside here now. It's a 2-stand shed, so not very big, but for the area down there, that's all you need. Now inside the older of the two sheds, and this is the one that Paul wants to mainly use as a storage area for sheep overnight, I guess. When they bring the cattle in to do any work with the cattle, of course these are the yards that they'll use here, which are at the back of the shearing shed. Tuesday morning, and we're now having bacon and eggs cooked on the wood-fired barbecue. young bloke here towing his first road train. You got to teach them young if you want them to be any good when they grow older. The day was perfect weather-wise. It was almost picture perfect actually. And Lauren took the opportunity to take the young bloke out on the bike just to have a bit of a look around the cattle and to see what was happening out in the paddock. It was Paul's intention to fly down and catch up with us before we left. But as it turned out, the weather forecast wasn't real good, so he could come down in the plane and land okay, but by the time he'd done his work that he wanted to do down there, and after a few days working, when he wanted to take off with the plane, it would have been too wet and he wouldn't have been able to get it up off the ground, so he drove down in the end, and it was late on the day when he arrived, but no, he soon organised the area around the fire, so it was a benefit for everyone. Now we've pulled down here and the fire going. It was a barbecue for tea and then just sit around and spin some yarns around the fire. Life doesn't get much better. To get the fire going after we'd cooked our barbecue tea and get a bit of flames back into it, once again Paul used a rechargeable blower and gave it a bit of wind and we soon had it burning nicely. Paul's workload for today was to go out into the paddock and bring the sheep into the yard, and then he was going to draft them and do some work accordingly, whatever he had in mind. I'm not quite sure, but it's all work that needs to be done. While the others were down at the shearing shed in the sheep yards doing the work on the sheep that was required, one of my jobs I suppose was to get the fire going, burn up some wood, create some coals, and that way we'd have enough coals for the camp oven that we're going to have tonight on the wood fire.
Hi.
It's a bugger when you got a crook back, and I can't reach and pull and twist and move sheep, otherwise I'll finish up with that much pain in my lower back that it cripples me. So the best thing I could do, unfortunately, was to leave the shed and go back and watch that fire. This sheep here that Debbie's patting, that was a lamb that was hand reared from when it was young. I'm not sure how old it was, probably straight after birth, but the sheep never forget Debbie when they come into the yards. The wood was burning nicely and the coals were building, but by the time we did get enough coals it was getting a little bit later than anticipated, but we got the camp oven going and everything was in and cooking nicely. The work was done for the day, the camp oven was cooked, and it was nice to sit around the fire and enjoy the evening meal and wonder what tomorrow was going to bring. Well, our time down here at Yallakar has come to an end, and we head off tomorrow morning to Berri in the Riverland in South Australia, and that's for the annual get-together of the Traveller Caravan Owners Group. So leaving tomorrow morning, unfortunately. Today's been a beautiful day, and the weather forecast all the way along was pretty ordinary when we got here, but slowly improving until tomorrow, so change coming in tomorrow. But no, we've been very lucky today with the weather, so we hope you enjoyed what we've shown you down here, and we must say thank you to Debbie and Paul for having us. And until the next video, you look after yourself and take care. In the morning we were soon packed and ready to go, and Paul cooked us bacon and eggs on the barbie before we left, and after that we started to make our way back to South Australia. If you liked the video that you just watched, give us a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of our videos, hit the subscribe button, and once you've done that, tap on the bell and change the notification to all. That way every time we do uploads to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified.